there! It's Mia here! Thanks for tuning into Blue Studios. My friend Eddie was over the other day, and I just couldn't help myself. I had to show off my superior skills in hula hooping. So, there I was, twirling my glittery hula hoop like a pro when he asked me how big around the hoop was. I didn't know, and he said we could find out using pi. I love pi, but he patiently explained that wasn't what he meant. We couldn't solve a math problem with a pastry. There is a very special mathematical number with the name of pi, not spelled P-I-E, like in cherry pie, but just P-I, and it has a symbol too. Eddie drew it out for me with some sidewalk chalk. It was two parallel lines standing close together with a slightly squiggly line balanced on top of them. And it definitely wasn't new to the mathematical world. The number pi was discovered nearly 4,000 years ago as the key to solving all kinds of mathematical problems dealing with circles. I still didn't really understand. How can a number be discovered? Were there just 10 digits and you just ordered them in different ways? Well, yes, said Eddie. But then there are very special numbers that are used in mathematics that have their own name, like pi. Eddie pointed out that my hula hoop was a circle. Yep, I knew that. I also knew the diameter of a circle was the distance across the center. Basically, the very widest part of the circle. For instance, if I had to hula hoop my way through a doorway, I would obviously need the doorway to be much bigger than the diameter of my hula hoop. I knew about the circumference of a circle too. This was the distance all the way around the outside. If I wanted to hula hoop in the dark, I might want to lay a piece of reflective tape all around the outside of my hoop. I knew the length of that tape would have to be equal to the circumference. But here's the really interesting part, said Eddie. There was a relationship between the diameter of a circle and the circumference of a circle that holds true for any size of circle. He insisted you could measure any circle, big, medium, or small. And if you were to compare the diameter to the circumference, you discover that the circumference is always just a touch over 3 times the length of the diameter. I was skeptical. I knew Eddie was smart, but this seemed impossible. So we tested it out on my hula hoop using a measuring tape. Across the middle, the diameter measured 3 feet. Then we measured the distance around the outside. The circumference was 9 feet, 5 inches, which is a little over 3 times the diameter. But maybe that was just coincidence. So Eddie and I spent the next half hour measuring every circle we could find. A button on my dad's shirt, the wheel on my sister's bicycle, the quarter in Eddie's pocket, the sticky lollipop in my pocket, and even the Mr. Turtle pool out on the grass. And sure enough, when we measured all of these circles, the circumference was always just a little over 3 times the diameter. Now I understood. Pi was a relationship between 2 numbers. Eddie said that's called a ratio in mathematical terms. Ratios are usually expressed in a fraction or decimal. The fraction for pi happens to be 22 over 7. As a decimal, it's 3.14. But Eddie said 3.14 was just the beginning. What did he mean by that? Well, 3.14 was the shortened version of pi because pi is a very, very, very long decimal. Eddie recited pi as 3.141592653589793238. He stopped there because I got the idea. There is no end to the pi decimal. It heads off into infinity and doesn't look back. There isn't any pattern to the numbers either, and every number seems to show up in an equal percentage. Pi is pretty darn unique as a mathematical number because it's both continuous and perfectly random. And because it goes on forever, the number pi is always just an approximation. This is what has teased mathematicians for nearly 4 centuries. There is a true obsession around the number pi. Eddie had story after story about mathematicians from around the world and through history trying to come up with a more and more accurate number for pi. Everyone from the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes to Sir Isaac Newton has wrestled with pi. Every digit they could figure out after the decimal brought them that much closer to the true number. But pi is maddening. The search for all its digits goes on forever because it's a number that goes on forever. It's like running after a hula hoop that's rolling down a never-ending hill. But that never stopped any of these mathematicians. Right now in 2021, pi has been calculated out as far as 31 trillion digits, but the quest for more is still on. So, what I wanted to know was why we have the symbol of a 2-legged stool for pi. Eddie explained that since pi is a decimal that goes on for infinity, not to mention a ratio that's a mouthful to explain in words, that a symbol was a great shortcut. British mathematician William Jones is credited for coming up with the symbol for pi in 1706, using a letter from the Greek alphabet. Later, it was Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler who used the symbol regularly and made it popular with other mathematicians. There have been some key moments in the development of the number pi. According to legend, the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes was working on the number pi until his dying day. He determined it to its 4th digit using the calculations from a 96-sided polynomial. Centuries later, in 1665, one of the greatest mathematicians and scientists in all history, Sir Isaac Newton, tackled it from a whole new direction. He explored the concept of pi using calculus and a mathematical principle called the binomial theorem. His work produced quicker and more extensive results than anything that had been discovered before. In 1767, a Swiss mathematician proved the number pi was irrational. In mathematical terms, this means it's a number with absolutely no discernible pattern. And in 1882, a German mathematician determined that pi is a transcendental number. This is a very special classification for numbers, and there happens to be only a few in this mathematical category. In simplest terms, a transcendental number is one that's so elusive and infinite, it can never be expressed as the solution to an algebra equation. Pi is one of these. In spite of the obsession in discovering the many, many numbers that lie behind the decimal point of the number pi, most mathematicians and scientists agree we really only need 39 of those digits to work on our most complex math endeavors, including determining the size of the universe. I asked Eddie if pi was just this never-ending obsession with math geniuses, or did it serve a real purpose? He said that anyone in the field of math, physics, engineering, mechanics, astronomy, and virtually every other science consistently use pi in their calculations. Any study of circles, spheres, orbits, curves, and arcs depended on the unique, continuous, irrational number pi. Pi was more than important. It was essential. Stretching beyond the decimal was some fun facts about pi. Pi is the secret to circles. Given the circumference of a circle, you can use pi to determine the diameter. Given the diameter of a circle, you can use pi to calculate the circumference. March 14th is celebrated as Pi Day. The date makes sense. March 14th is 314, the first 3 digits of pi. Schools, museums, and other organizations have been known to celebrate this popular number with all kinds of activities, including fun runs of 3.14 km, circular parades, and pie throwing contests. Pi is the 16th letter in the ancient Greek alphabet. It begins the word parametros, which translates to periphery or perimeter. Our many GPS systems use the number pi in their complex calculations to determine our location on Earth. After all, Earth is a sphere. Considering the methods of ancient mathematicians in determining pi, the phrase squaring the circle means relentlessly pursuing the impossible. Guinness World Records recognizes Rajveer Meena as the current record holder for having memorized the most digits of pi. Rajveer recited the first 70,000 digits of pi in order while blindfolded. It took him just over 9 hours to do so. In 1887, a bill was proposed to Indiana State Legislature to round pi's familiar decimal of 3.14 to 3.2. It failed to pass. The series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doesn't appear in pi for the first million digits. This seems to prove, in spite of its normal-looking appearance, 123,456 just happens to be a very unique number. Albert Einstein was born on March 14th, a date with the same numbers as pi. One of the most respected universities in the world for mathematicians and scientists is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, oftentimes called MIT. This university likes to reveal its acceptance letters for new students on March 14th every year. Can't get enough of pi? Here are some additional activities. Hold your own memorization challenge with friends and family as to who can remember the most digits of pi and order correctly. The prize? A pie, of course. Do your own investigation of circles in your environment. You'll first be amazed by how many circles there are, and then you'll be fascinated that they all prove pi to be true. Pi is one of several special numbers in the world of mathematics and science. Look up the E used in Albert Einstein's famous formula explaining energy. E equals mc squared. Then check out the fascinating Fibonacci number found in nature. See if you can come up with an explanation of these special numbers for someone as young as kindergarten. Find out more about how the number pi is celebrated at the San Francisco Exploratorium Museum every year. It's believed to be where the inspiration for Pi Day began. There's an entire language based on the number pi called Pilish. Study up, translate a short story into Pilish, and read aloud to an interested, math-obsessed audience. We learned so much about the fascinating and important role pi plays in the world of mathematics. But beyond its mathematical value, pi is special in another way. The pursuit of pi in all its digits seems to reflect a spirit of not ever giving up, no matter how endless a task was. That prompted me to look up the world record for continuous hula hooping. It stands at 100 hours. I better work on my skills some more. Well, that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed learning about pi with me and Eddie. Now a trip to the bakery.
All this talk about pie made me really hungry. 24/7. We're so excited to bring round-the-clock entertainment and educational content to your home. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos. At Blue Studios, we aspire to revolutionize the way families spend time together. We empower families by providing them with tools to work together, earn and learn, and achieve new heights of success. Visit www.bluestudios.io to discover more about our mission and how we empower families to succeed. Thank you so much for being part of our community. Keep watching and learning with us. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.